The EPA gets an earful on the renewable fuel standard. We go into the field for Michigan's historic hemp harvest. And Michigan Agricultural Commodities' Chris Betts has your market report. I'm Janelle Brose, and this is Farm News 5.
Farm News 5 is brought to you by Ford.
The biofuels industry and rural America sent a clear message to the Environmental Protection Agency this week. It's not good enough. The EPA held a public hearing Wednesday, October 30th in Ypsilanti to take comments on its recently proposed supplemental rule on the way renewable fuel standards are calculated. Representatives from state and national associations and companies say the EPA's proposal doesn't go far enough to undo the damage done by the additional small refinery waivers issued earlier this year. And they say it falls short of President Trump's promise made earlier this month.
On October 4th, the president made a commitment that no longer would EPA handouts to small refineries destroy demand for U.S. biofuel. EPA came out with a proposal for how to follow through on the president's commitment, and it's unfortunate it falls short of what the president promised. And so I think the resounding chorus that the EPA is going to be hearing today from representatives throughout the corn grower community, the ethanol producer community, and those representing consumers is this is not acceptable. We need EPA to uphold the commitment that the president made to lawmakers weeks ago. We've got to make sure that when EPA sets blending targets for a year, it has to make sure that we meet those at the end of the year so that we can get ethanol plants back up online. There's a very specific fix, and it's a very logical one as well. When you look at what EPA has handed out in the past 3 years in exemptions, you average about 1.35 billion gallons of destroyed demand. We simply ask EPA moving forward, estimate based on what you've done in the past. Let's take a look at your actual behavior, the exemptions you've granted, use that as a way to estimate what you will be handing out moving forward. That's an accurate assumption that allows for the calculations to work, and at the end of the day, we will be made whole and we'll have certainty that the gallons are blended that need to be.
Those who couldn't attend the hearing can submit comments in writing to the EPA between now and the end of November. The EPA plans to finalize the supplemental rule before the end of the year.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want a car with driver assist technology, get a Ford. You're gonna want a Ford.
A harvest more than 60 years in the making is playing out in fields across Michigan as farmers harvest more than 32,000 acres of industrial hemp. It's the first time the crop has been legally harvested since 1957. And with up and down markets and uncertainty with once reliable trade partners near and far, growing and harvesting industrial hemp may be just what the doctor ordered for some farmers, including Ubly, Michigan's Hempure farm, owned and operated by Clint, Keith, and Brad Hagan.
We felt as though if there was ever a time to take a chance on a crop, this was the year. We really didn't stand a chance of losing much per acre in the fact that we weren't going to the field to know that we're going to profit $100 an acre on our white wheat or our navy beans. So we figured, let's take a chance on some of this hemp. We knew it was new to the area. We were always up for a challenge. So it was a significant investment. I shouldn't say that we're going out to not lose money or anything like that, but it's been a challenge. It's definitely something different and like nothing else we've ever grown.
Everything about hemp is expensive, from the seeds to the maintenance to the harvest to the marketing. Every phase of the process has been a challenge, from just putting the seed in the ground to managing the weeds in an organic fashion, to now trying to harvest a crop that hasn't been grown in Michigan in decades.
One of the biggest challenges the Hagan brothers faced on their 340 acres of hemp, weeds. And while weeds pose a problem for most crops, you can't spray hemp to get rid of them.
The hemp plant, it's a plant that actually will pull toxins from the soil. So if you have metals, you have chemicals, you have anything like that in your ground, the plant will pull it up and it will test in your sample when you take it to your lab. So if your ultimate goal is to produce a smokable flower or to produce a biomass that is ultimately going to be turned into CBD, those processors or those buyers will want a sample, and they will test for metals and they will test for chemicals. And if you put anything on these things, it will pick it up. Staying on top of your fields and staying on top of the weeds is paramount if you want to have a good standing crop. And there were a few times where we were almost choked out by a couple different weeds that they spread like wildfire. Thankfully, we were able to catch it, get it taken care of. The field right behind me was one of those fields, and we've got a tremendous stand because of it.
I had 52 different high school aged kids from around the area that actually come out and hoed weeds for us. So that was fantastic to see. Had 41 or 42 in the field at one time.
Here we have a hemp plant. We've got the main cola, which is here at the top. A lot of people will kind of cut this off, say about here, and use this as like a premium smokable flower. This particular variety, as of last week, was testing at 18.5% CBD, which is our highest strain.
CBD products are growing rapidly in popularity. Industrial hemp, which has lower amounts of THC than marijuana, is used to make these products. The question is, how do you get it from field to vial?
There's no set market for hemp. What there is there's different avenues in which you could sell it. You can sell it as a biomass, a dried biomass. You could sell it as a smokable flower. You can sell it as, you can take it through a processing and get it down to a distillate, which is one of the products where CBD is actually in highest concentration. An isolate, which is a powder form of CBD. What we're actually doing is we'll be taking our product, grinding it, chopping it, putting it into a wet biomass, ultimately to be dried, and then that dried biomass will go on to a processor, turn to a distillate, and we'll ultimately sell that distillate to a manufacturer.
This week, USDA released its long-awaited rules and regulations for industrial hemp, which lay out procedures for growers to follow, testing concentration levels of THC, and what to do with plants that have too much THC.
Time to renew your land lease? Review Foster Swift's guide to land lease agreements at fosterswift.com.
And now with a look at the latest market activity, here is Michigan Ag Commodities' Chris Betts.
Thanks, Janelle. Easing trends remain in place this week for all three, as harvest is lending pressure and a lack of supportive news on the demand side has also curbed bullishness. Trade seems to be taking the stance that yield damage has been done at this point, and will wait for supplemental USDA reports to reopen the debate. China-US trade news has been limited of late, although indications are that a mini deal is still in the works in the near term. Skepticism that a larger final deal can be reached resurfaced Thursday, after Chinese officials said a larger trade deal will be hard to reach. Michigan is certainly not representative of winter wheat planting for the U.S. as a whole, which is ahead of schedule. Recent rain and snow has been beneficial for soil moisture levels in the plains. Black Sea origin wheat has dominated the export market, lending pressure on wheat, along with lower trends in corn and beans. For more market information, go to michag.com. With Michigan Agricultural Commodities, I'm Chris Betts.
For more news and video, visit MichiganFarmNews.com and the Michigan Farm Bureau channel on YouTube. With Farm News 5, I'm Janelle Brose. Have a great week of farming.